Street Fighter Alpha 2, known as Street Fighter ZERO 2 in Japan, Asia, and South America, is a 1996 fighting game originally released for the CPS II arcade hardware by Capcom. The game is both a sequel and a remake to the previous year's Street Fighter Alpha, Warrior's Dreams, which is itself a prequel to the Street Fighter II series in terms of plot and setting. The game featured a number of improvements over the original, such as new attacks, stages, endings, and gameplay features. Gameplay. Street Fighter Alpha 2 retains most of the new features introduced in the original Street Fighter Alpha, such as the 3-level super combo gauge, alpha counters, air blocking, and fall breaking. The main new feature in the game is the inclusion of the custom combo system, which replaces the chain combos from the first Alpha. If the super combo gauge is on LV1 or above, the player can initiate a custom combo pressing 2 punch buttons and a kick simultaneously. The player can then perform any series of basic and special moves to create a custom combo until the timer gauge at the bottom of the screen runs out. The only characters that can still perform chain combos in the game are Guy and Jen, but only to a limited extent. Additionally, each character now has 2 alpha counters instead of just one that can be performed with a kick button and another with a punch button. The single-player mode, much like the original Street Fighter Alpha, consists of 8 matches against computer-controlled opponents, including a fixed final opponent whose identity depends on the player's selected character. Each character also has a secret rival whom they can face during the course of the single-player mode after meeting certain requirements, in which then the rival will interrupt one of the player's regularly scheduled matches and exchange dialogue with the player's character. With Akuma now a regular character, a more powerful version of the character dubbed Shin Akuma replaces him as a secret opponent. Unlike Super Turbo and the original Alpha, Shin Akuma challenges the player before the player's final opponent, rather than as an alternate final boss. Characters. The game brings back all 13 characters from Street Fighter Alpha, with M, Bison, Akuma, and Dan now being immediately selectable as playable characters. Addition to the Alpha roster, Alpha 2 includes Dalsim and Zangief, both from Street Fighter II, Jen, an assassin from the original Street Fighter, Rolento, a member of the Mad Gear Gang who originally appeared in Final Fight, and newcomer Sakura, a Japanese schoolgirl who takes up street fighting after witnessing one of Yu's battles. Versions. Arcade Street Fighter Alpha 2 was released under the title of Street Fighter ZERO 2 in Japan, Asia, and South America. The American and European versions of Alpha 2 feature 3 additional characters who were not in the ZERO 2 version: Evil Yu and the X versions of Dalsim and Zangief. Capcom released an updated version of ZERO 2 titled Street Fighter ZERO 2 Alpha, which features all the additional characters from Alpha 2, as well as other changes to the game. In addition to Zangief and Dalsim, ZERO 2 Alpha also features X versions of Yu, Ken, Chun-Li, Sagat, and M. Bison, all of whom were characters from Street Fighter II. Champion Edition. Custom combos are now executed by pressing a punch and kick button of the same strength simultaneously and now require half of the super combo gauge fill to perform them. Some of the characters have gained new moves such as Yu's Shakunetsu Hadoken and Dalsim's Yoga Tempest. ZERO 2 Alpha also features a survival mode, as well as a 2-on-1 dramatic battle mode similar to the hidden Yu and Ken vs. Bison mode in the original Alpha. In the Japanese version of ZERO 2 Alpha, Evil Yu has different dialogue exchanges and a different ending from his regular counterpart. Street Fighter Alpha 2 was ported to the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn in 1996. The PlayStation port features an arranged soundtrack, while the Saturn version uses an arranged soundtrack in a streaming ADPCM format. Both versions feature Shin Akuma as a selectable character via a secret code, in addition to the classic-style Chun-Li. The Saturn port is the only one of the two versions to feature the characters Evil U, X Dalsim, and X Zangief from the American arcade version. The Saturn port also features an exclusive survival mode, as well as an art gallery. The PlayStation version of Street Fighter Alpha 2 was re-released for the PSP and PlayStation 3 via the PlayStation Network on June 4, 2009 in North America. The Super NES version was also released in 1996. This version makes use of the SDD1 chip for on-the-fly graphic decompression. Despite the graphics decompression chip, this version has loading times when entering matches while sounds are loaded onto the sound chip. Unlike the PlayStation and Saturn versions, the only secret character available to the player through normal means is the classic-style Chun-Li. However, it is possible to unlock Shin Akuma as a playable character by using an action replay code. This port was re-released for the Virtual Console in North America on December 7, 2009 and in the PAL region on January 29, 2010 for the Wii, and in North America on May 22, 2014, and in the PAL region on October 2, 2014 for the Wii U. A Windows PC port was also released, based on the PlayStation version in 1997. This version was sold as a bundle with the original Alpha in Japan. A home version of Street Fighter ZERO 2 Alpha was released under the title of Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold in North America, Street Fighter Alpha 2 in Europe, and Street Fighter ZERO 2 in Japan. The game was released as part of the Street Fighter Collection, a compilation that also includes Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Alpha 2 Gold features most of the same changes, features and game modes as the arcade version of ZERO 2 Alpha, only omitting the 2-on-1 dramatic battle mode from the arcade version. Street Fighter, who appears as a hidden character selectable only in the game's versus and training modes. This version was re-released in Japan as a standalone game in the PlayStation The Best and Satiko Rebudget Games lines. The 2006 PlayStation 2 compilation Street Fighter Alpha Anthology features a version of the original Alpha 2 based on the arcade game, as well as a revised version of Alpha 2 Gold which features Cammy as a selectable character in the game's arcade mode. Both games feature survival and dramatic battle modes in addition to the arcade, versus, and training modes. The Japanese version of the compilation features the arcade versions of ZERO 2 and ZERO 2 Alpha as well as the US version of Alpha 2 and a revised version of ZERO 2 as hidden games. Reception. In the Japanese arcade magazine, Gamest, Street Fighter ZERO 2 was voted Best Game of 1996 in the 10th Annual Grand Prize. ZERO 2 was also No. 1 in the category of Best Fighting Game, No. 9 in Best Graphics, No. 6 in Best Direction, and No. 4 in Best VGM. Dan Hibiki and Sakura Kasugano were depicted on the cover of this issue, who were placed No. 1 and No. 3 respectively on the top 50 characters of 1996, with Yu at No. 13, Zangief at No. 18, Guy at No. 26, Chun-Li at No. 32, Akuma at No. 37, Rolento at No. 45 and Ken at No. 49.